Hi, and welcome to Coffee with My Sunshine. Today I am bringing you 18 of my most favorite scrap wood projects that we've done on my channel so far. So if you'd like to join me, then let's get started. Scrap wood project number 1. This is one that goes way back from the beginning of my channel. It is this scrap wood tray. And this I made out of a frame that I got from Goodwill. It was only 99 cents. I used some Waverly chalk paint and some white acrylic paint and 3 pieces of scrap wood. Now the sizes of these would vary depending on your frame size. And all I did was take my scrap wood pieces and gave them a little bit of a sanding just to sand down any of the little rough pieces sticking up. And then I mixed together some white paint with my gray chalk paint. And then just gave each board a light coating. I was going for a rustic look on this, so I didn't cover the boards completely. Or you could cover them completely and sand them, however you like to do it. And I just put them together real quick just to make sure they were going to fit into the frame. Then after I was happy with the fit, I flipped it over so that the frame was underneath the wood pieces, and I pre-drilled the holes where I'm going to put the screws in. I had a little trouble with this with this drill the first time around. And you can see that in the original video. I will have all the original videos linked in my description box if you want more description or more instruction. So after I pre-drilled the holes, I just added the screws in, and I will also have my tools linked in the description box as well. And then I took some of these felt pads just because the screws that I was using at this time were rounded. I didn't have any flathead screws, so I didn't want it scratching up my tabletop. Then after the felt pads were put on, I just flipped it over and made sure there wasn't any wood shavings or sandings or any pieces on the boards, because I wanted to use this, it's like a wall decal, but I thought it would be really cool on this tray. And originally I had it planned out in my head how I wanted the wording, but it wasn't going to fit on the boards, so I had to just kind of play around with it. And these are easy to stick and restick if you don't like the placing of it. And you can go ahead and put the Mod Podge underneath as well as on top, just to make sure it stays in place. So after I had the placing of the words where I wanted it, I went ahead and did a nice coat of Mod Podge, and I did it also on the other pieces of wood, just because it makes it easier to wipe up, like if you have a spill or crumbs or whatever. So this is it all finished. I was really, really happy with how it turned out. I love the coloring of the frame with the rustic boards underneath. And those handles were already ones that my husband had, and he brought them home from work. You can pick handles up like that from Goodwill sometimes. Sometimes you can find them at Habitat for Humanity. Right there, I had just hot glued them on because I wanted like rustic looking screws, and I didn't have any yet, so I did end up doing that in the future when I found the screws that I wanted. But I hope you like this project. I was really happy with how it turned out, and this is actually held up really nice, and we still have it to this day. And on to scrap wood project number 2. This one was probably my favorite one to work on. You're going to need a 4x4 post cut into squares. Now we didn't really measure, we just kind of eyeballed them to be about the same size. I cut 4 of them. Actually, my husband cut them. Next, you are going to need a torch. This is where I want to put out a warning for anybody that is underage. Please do this with adult supervision and with all the safety gear, and just keep safety in mind, please, please, please. But this was super fun, and it gave it a really cool look. I liked the burnt wood look. You could also achieve this with probably some stain or like a dark paint, and just go around the edges like we're doing with the torch. My husband tried it, and then I tried it. This is my son. It does get really hot, so be careful, and please don't start a fire.
Is that flowing?
Yep. After we burnt the edges, I let them sit for a while and kind of dusted them off because they had, you know, a little bit of a black char that came off. Then I took some Mod Podge and just gave them all 1 or 2 good coats, and this is what they look like when they've had plenty of time to dry. They're a little bit shiny. You could use the matte Mod Podge as well, but here I'm going to do a Valentine's style decor piece. You could also do a winter one, which I will show you here shortly, or just, you know, whatever theme you want to go with. So you're going to need, for this one, wooden hearts, some nails, and some stencils. I'm writing the word love, or painting the word love. Like I said, customize this to your home and your style. I just attached my stencils with tape and then took some white paint and a sponge. This I find is easier when I'm doing stencils instead of a paintbrush, because it doesn't seem to leak under the stencil as much as when you use a paintbrush. I'm doing the painted letters first, and then I'm going to go back to the O, which that's where I'm going to be using those wooden hearts. I hope you are liking these projects so far. If you're new here, I would love for you to subscribe and join our YouTube family. Don't forget to pop into the comments and say hi. And here, I could not find my E. I have no idea where it is. So I just took a B in the same font in the stencils, and I'm going to try and make my own E by taping off the bubbly part of the B. You'll have to let me know what you think. Sometimes you just have to improvise, right? So for the O, I'm just taking those wooden hearts and I'm pre-drilling holes after I kind of have the hearts in place where I want them. And then I'm going to use those gold nails that I showed you. They also have pretty copper ones, or whatever color you want to go with. And then I'm just placing the hearts where I pre-drilled and then hammering in the nails. And I picked gold because I kind of wanted them to stand out. You could also paint the hearts and the nails to blend together if you wanted, but I like the look of the nails. So let me know what you guys think of this. I know not everybody's into Valentine's, but I'm going to show you how to use the other side for more of a winter theme. And I wanted to incorporate a little bit of winter because this is what my backyard looks like right now. It is so, so cold. So I wanted to make these blocks just two-sided so that I could use them, you know, throughout the year at different times. And I wanted to write snow on the other side. You can use a cute little ornament like this for the snowflake. You could paint one on. You can use those rub transfer adhesive things. I am going to make a snowflake out of clothespins. Pretty simple. I've done these kind of snowflakes on my channel before, but you take the clothespin apart and then you glue the pieces back to back. I'm using 2 different sizes of clothespins. And then I'm just using some hot glue to glue them onto my blocks. And for the bottom piece, I am making that flush with the bottom because I didn't want the snowflake piece sticking out like it does on the top, because then my little block wouldn't sit flat. I just glued them in with some hot glue. You could use wood glue or even like E6000 or whatever. But see, I wanted that flat right there. So let me know what you guys think, if you like the reversible little sign or blocks. And let me know if you guys try this project and how you liked using the torch. Or like I said, you could use paint or stain. But I thought burning the wood like that was really cool. We had done that once before. We made some shelves for my son's bedroom that had a similar look. On to project number 3. This is one from way back when I originally started doing DIYs on my channel, and this one we still use on our coffee bar today as well. So for the coffee storage shelf, we started off by cutting the wood that we needed, and if you don't have the tools to cut the wood, then you can also head on over to Michael's, because this DIY was actually inspired by a DIY idea that my mom had sent me that she found on the Michael's website, and they actually have the crates already made. But we decided to make ours ourselves, and the boards that we cut 2 9x8s, 4 9x5s, and 4 7x5s. And then we just put them together with wood glue and clamped them just so that they would hold tight, and we let them sit for a few hours. We didn't even really need to nail it. They held together really good. This is a project I really like doing because it was actually functional, but it was also kind of like decor. I like the way it looks on our coffee bar. If you're making these boxes, you're going to need 2, but I just showed you one just so you weren't sitting here for an hour watching me build 2 of the exact same things. So we clamped it all up and let it sit overnight. And then I just took it outside and did some sanding along the edges and the sides because it was pretty rough around the edges. And then I took some of my favorite stains because I can't always find the stain color that I want. So I like to layer them and mix them, and it works out great. Usually I just do 1 layer at a time. I've seen people mix them, but I'll usually do 1 layer with gloves, of course. Wipe it on, and then wipe off any excess, and then go in with the next color and layer it. You don't have to let it dry in between coats. And then you just keep doing this until you're happy with the color that you have. This one dried a little bit darker than you're seeing now. So after the stain was dry, I just brought them in to measure for the hooks on the side, and I measured 2 inches down from the top and 2 3/4 inches from the sides. And you're going to want to do this on 2 sides of your shelves on both boxes. And yes, I couldn't find my hammer at this point, so I just used a screwdriver. And these hooks, like I said, I would have gotten bigger hooks for these, only because a lot of the coffee cups that I use have bigger handles, so it's hard to put them into these little hooks that I got. But they still work out fine. And then I just went ahead and added the hook on the other side. And then just stack them on top of each other. I just used the larger mason jars, filled them with the different coffee beans, and then wrote on there with a paint marker as to what was in the jars. And like I said, it's just one of those functional pieces that looks really cute out. Let me know what you guys think of this one. On to project number 4. First off, we're starting by cutting chunks of wood out of a scrap piece that we already had. And my husband cut them down to 3 inches by 3 inches, I believe. And I would suggest that you use probably cedar for this, because my husband said a lot of the wood comes treated, which has a lot of chemicals, so make sure you don't get that. And I guess cedar isn't normally treated. But anyway, you're going to need 4 of those blocks, some stencils, wood beads of your choice, doesn't matter size, color, anything. White and black paint is what I used, paint brushes, and some paint sponges, and also twine. I think I forgot to say that. So I'm just kind of laying it out to see, kind of what it's going to look like, and then we're going to drill holes in that goes all the way through on both sides, because that's where we're going to be putting the twine through. And my husband did this for me as well. I usually work with the tools, but this time he was home and said he would help, so I took him up on his offer. So after the holes were drilled, I just went ahead and took some of the white paint and gave each of the blocks 2 coats. And of course you can use any color you would like here, whatever will go with the decor in your home. And like I said, this was just a scrap chunk of wood that we cut into pieces, so that's why I'm calling it Trash to Treasure. And I thought these were so cute when I saw them at Joann Fabrics. They were just so simple and they looked like they would be really easy to make. And now all the cubes are coated, and I was just measuring to make sure they were all 3 inches, because the stencil letters we got were like the whole cardboard piece was 2 inches, but the actual letters were 1 inch. So I just wanted to make sure that it was centered on the block. And then I just took the sponge brush that I had to apply the black paint onto the stencil. And I like using the sponge brushes better than an actual brush, because it helps to keep it from bleeding, under the stencil and stuff. So the ones at Joann Fabrics, I saw they said home life, and I did that. I did the words home life, and then for the other 2 sides, I didn't want to repeat that, so I decided to add my own words, and I did cozy on one side and love on the other. And I'm pretty sure with having guys in the house, it won't be long before this thing says a weird word or the letters are all messed up. And this one is one that I was really happy with how it turned out. We have had a lot of comments on it when people come over. And it's kind of made its way around our house. I first had it in the dining room, and then I put it on our entertainment stand later on. And now it's actually on our dresser in our bedroom. So anyway, after the words have dried, you're going to feed the twine through. You're going to put a bead at the very end and tie a knot to hold it in place. Put a cube on, then another bead, another cube, another bead, so on and so forth. You can use a wire, that's what I did in the beginning, to attach to the twine so that it feeds through the cube, but it did fine after that without it. And then you want to tape the twine probably when you're feeding it through the beads, that way it doesn't fray. And then at the very end, you want to tie a couple knots like you did in the beginning. And this, I just had my husband help me so that I could hold the beads and the cubes tight, because I didn't want there to be like a lot of slack room. And that's it. It was super simple. Like I said, this would be really cute, different colors or different color beads, whatever. You could make it say whatever you want. It's so like versatile. It would, you can make it just fit your home and your family. Let me know how you like this one. And if you're new here, like I said, I would love for you to subscribe, but also check out my channel. I do anything from thrift flips, thrift hauls, just a bunch of different types of DIYs. On to project number 5. So these are going to be super simple and super inexpensive. I'm starting with 2 scrap pieces of wood and some ribbon that I got from Burlap Fabrics. I will have their link in my description box if you guys are interested. They have some wonderful fabrics and ribbons and anything you could want. So first off, I'm just taking those scrap pieces of wood and I'm going to hot glue them together. You could use wood glue as well, or whatever you have. And these, I'm just going to make them look like they're really rustic presents. So I'm just taking that really pretty ribbon and I'm wrapping it around and gluing it on the bottom. And then taking another one and crisscrossing it on the top and securing it on the bottom like I did the first piece. And I love these types of things that are really rustic and I don't know, I think they're super cute and unique. And really it can go with any style. You could put it on like a really pretty white hutch, which is what I'm going to do, or under a tree or on a shelf in the bathroom, anything like that. I think it's so pretty. And it just adds so much texture. Then I'm just taking another piece of that ribbon and doing super simple bows, because I still have not figured out how to tackle really pretty expensive looking bows, but I'm working on it. So I'm just gonna hot glue that down onto the top. And then taking another piece and making a similar bow and crisscrossing that on top of that bow. And I love this ribbon because it's wired, so you can kind of like form it how you want. Then I'm taking these bells because I thought it needed a little something. These are ones that I made from Dollar Tree bells last year. I will link the video up above in the cards if you're interested in seeing that. I think it's super pretty, but I wanted to add a little bit of greenery to it. And here I just stuck it in, but I'm going to hot glue it. I just wanted to make sure I liked it first. And there you go. Super simple, super inexpensive, but really, really pretty in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Project number 6. I saw this at a cute little shop when I went with my mom and my daughter, and I wanted to recreate it. So I'm taking this scrap piece of wood and some brown paint, a couple different colors. Usually I use a baby wipe for this technique, but I didn't have any more, so I'm just using a wet rag and dabbing it into the brown paints and smearing it on. Sorry, I had to readjust my lighting because the sun was coming in super bright. And I just keep wetting my rag so it doesn't go on super thick. And I ended up having to flip the board and redoing this process because I ruined the first side. But I just wanted to show you kind of the technique if you haven't seen it before. And then you don't have to let it dry. You take the next color that you're using and layer it on top. You're just trying to give it like a stained look without using smelly stains. So here, because I don't have any cursive stencils, I'm asking for some for Christmas, so I'm excited. I am freehanding this, and I was really nervous about it because I am not good with freehand. So that's why I was starting with a pencil. And the sign is going to say, "Give it to God and go to sleep," which is something I guess I really need to work on because I get super stressed and can't sleep. And when I showed this to my mom, she said that that's something I should practice a little bit more of. And when I showed it to my husband, he said the same thing. So obviously I need to do better. If you have paint pens too, that would work awesome. So I've been kind of practicing with freehand, you know, doing the fancy letters. I'm not very good at it yet, but I have learned, like, first you just kind of get the outline of what you want. And then you can go back in and like fill in to make some of the letters thicker in some spots. But first just get it down, get the words down what you want them to say. And obviously I should have used a ruler and probably centered it better, but I can always redo this. I just love the idea of this sign. If you have any freehand techniques or tips that you can give me, that would be awesome. I would love to hear the ideas that you guys have and what you do to, I don't know, make them look super pretty. Scrapwood project number 7. And this one goes way back from like the beginning of my channel. This was one of actually the projects that I did that really got me liking doing DIYs on my channel. But I just took this palette that my husband and I had cut down to size and took some chalk paint and did a really light coating onto the wood just to make it look rustic. I was really into farmhouse then. I still like farmhouse, but it was one of my favorites then. And I just did a light coat and then took a one of these little metal flower pots from the Dollar Tree. And I wanted it so that it could turn. So, you know, you could make it so that it was standing so that the boards were going up and down, or you could turn it so that it was shorter in case you had, you know, a shorter shelf that you were putting it on. So my husband helped me here just to hold it in place. I pre-drilled a hole and then added a screw. I didn't want it to be too tight because, like I said, I wanted it to be able to turn. And this is what it looks like without any flowers. Just kind of wanted to show you how it was placed. This one was super simple, but it was really cute. I loved how it turned out. And then I just went ahead and, oh, that was one of the other DIYs that I did in that video. And then this is what it looks like going this direction. And then here's what it looks like when I flipped it. And don't forget, I will have all the original videos listed in my description box if you want to check them out in their entirety, because I do have many other DIYs in those videos. Not all of them are scrap wood projects. So on to projects 8 and 9. I did a lot of trash to treasure videos too, where I took actual trash and turned it into like treasure decor pieces. So that's what this video is. So for mine, I am starting with this scrap piece of barnwood, this kitty litter container with a Home Depot lid, and I'm having my husband and my son help me. My son is using the saw right now. And the only reason we're using this saw is because we got it out to cut a circle. So I know this isn't typically the saw you would use for straight lines, but you know, it works. So I want these boards cut in half because I want kind of like a seat for the top of the kitty litter container, and just the width of the one board wasn't enough. So that's why we're using two, and we're just going to cut each part of the circle out from both boards. And my son started doing this and he wasn't comfortable doing the curved line, so my husband took over. And I am not good with the saw at all. I just cannot steer it. So that's going to be the circle for the top of the kitty litter container. My son is cutting these strips for me, and my husband is also cutting a little bit thicker strips from the scrap pieces of wood that I had. I love having my family help me in my videos just because I like to be able to look back and, you know, see them helping me, or just to remember, you know, that we all kind of had our hands in the decor pieces that we have displayed in our house. After those strips of wood were cut, I am going to assemble them because these are going to be a tray, and I wanted two different tones or textures on this tray, so I'm going to be alternating pieces. And this one's really simple. All you have to do after you get it laid out how you want, you just take some wood glue and slap a good amount on, and then use a clamp to tighten it down. I let mine sit overnight and it was hard as a rock when I got up. For the kitty litter topper, I am taking those wood pieces and gluing them together in the center. And I didn't have a clamp, so a clamp big enough, so I kind of made my own out of a couple bricks and a what are they called? Bungee cord. And it seemed to work out really well because it was super strong when I woke up, so. And this is the kitty litter container I'm going to use. I'm just taking it and cleaning it up a little bit. and spray painting it black. For the lid, I didn't think I needed to spray paint the top because you're not going to see it. I just wanted the very edges of it because you will see that. As that was drying, I sanded the top of the litter container and the tray. And as of right now, these two stains are my favorite. It's pickled oak and early American. I love layering stains because I can never find one that is perfect. So I start with the pickled oak. And then I don't even wait for it to dry. I layer over the early American. And I think they turned out so pretty. I just love this color. It's like an actual wood color. It's not too gray, it's not too brown or orange. So then after that dried, I just flipped it over and put the litter container or litter lid underneath and screwed it in and screwed it onto the wood. And I thought this would be perfect for like when I'm pulling weeds or something, because sometimes I want something to sit on because it just hurts my knees to be kneeling so long. And also I can keep my tools in there, like you know, like the little, what are they called, the little snips and the little shovels and gloves. And it's perfect to just carry around while you're working in your garden or your flower beds. Then for the tray, I looked all over because I had just gotten some like antique candles. I got them from a garage sale and I could not find them anywhere. So my husband gave me the idea, since we were getting rid of some old kitchen cupboards, he said to just take the handles or the knobs off of the cupboards, and it worked out perfect. He just drilled a couple holes on the sides. And I actually think it looks really cool with the knobs, and it works perfect as handles. I think it's so pretty. Let me know what you guys think of the two different textures on the tray and the handles. Then next for the bucket, I am taking some of this metallic paint in copper and bronze and painting the handle. I think it looks so cute. It's going to be great for working outside, or really anything. You can, I don't know, you can store anything in there. We have another one that I made probably a year ago now that we keep like bird seed in it and stuff. Project number 10. This one was an old one too. I had used some spindles to create a tiered tray, so I'm using a piece of that, which is a scrap piece of wood, and also these were scrap pieces as well. And I'm going to be making a candlestick. I know they're a little rough looking, but I end up fixing that. So I just took those little pieces of scrap wood to kind of match the size of these pieces that I had from, I believe it was craftparts.com. And I kind of wanted it to look like this candlestick that I'd made in another video, but I wanted it to have the raw wood look. So I'm just taking this Elmer's glue, which is kind of like a wood glue, and I'm gluing those squares together. And then same with the scrap pieces. And then I'm taking some Waverly white chalk paint and giving those a rustic coat. These are old videos, so a lot of them are done in the farmhouse style. So then after those were done getting painted and dried, I ended up taking some more of the glue and some hot glue, just so it held the spindle and the wood pieces in place until the Elmer's glue dried. Place that right in the center, and then added the square top pieces. I just love the look of those spindles. So if you ever see those, I got ours at, I think it was Habitat for Humanity. If you ever see them, grab them, because you can use them in so many projects. I'll have that in my part 2 scrap wood video, where I made the tiered tray because it turned out really, really cool. And this is what they looked like all finished. Project number 11. I'm using a scrap piece of wood, this family sign that I got from the Target dollar spot, 2 different color paints, no, actually 3 different color paints, some stencils, and these half wood beads. And I'm going to start by taking that scrap piece of wood and painting it white because I wanted a really clean looking base to put the stencil on. And I just did one really good coat. And then after that is coated out, I'm going to set that aside and work on the family sign. And I think this was $3 from Target, but instead of painting it, I'm going to be like kind of staining it, but I'm using some coffee that has been cooled off with a little tiny bit of brown acrylic paint added to it and stirred in really good. And then I'm just coating out the family sign with a sock. You could use a paintbrush, but I kind of wanted more control, so that's why I was using the sock. And then for the edges, I am using a paintbrush because the edges are really rough. And when I tried to use the sock, it just kept getting stuck on the little rough pieces. And it's going to show up darker on the edges because, you know, it's the end grain of the wood. And this little brush that I'm using is actually one that came with the stencils that I got from the Target dollar spot, and I didn't want to use it for the stenciling, so I thought I would use it for just putting the faux stain on. And you can definitely use stain on this, but I didn't want the stinkiness because I couldn't really open the windows because we had guys here installing new windows. So after I was done with the family sign, I'm going to let that dry, and then I'm going to take the stencil and place it where I want it. I could use the brush, but I don't like using brushes with stencils because I find it gets underneath the paint gets underneath the stencils a lot easier and makes it look really messy. So I like using these little sponge brushes. I couldn't find my big one. That's what I would have used, but I'm using this little one. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways that I stenciled, and just so you can kind of see how they turned out and which way you would prefer doing it if you do this project. So I used that little sponge brush, and now I'm using one of those big ones that you can get from the dollar store, and just kept dabbing it in the black paint. And that's what this looked like. To me, that's a little bit messy looking, but once all the stencils are on, you don't really notice each individual one. But this next little stencil thing that I did, I used that same foam brush, but I used it drier, and then I took a different kind of sponge. I didn't wet it, I just dabbed it in the paint and kind of dabbed the paint off of the sponge and did it kind of like a dry brushing, but dry sponging. And I think that came out a lot cleaner than the first one. So if you want it to come out clean, then just use a dry brush and kind of dab off the paint before you apply it to the stencil. And then any spots that I accidentally touched the black to, I just used some white paint and painted over it. Now for the family sign, after it had dried, it was a little bit lighter than I wanted, so I actually added a little bit of orange paint to the brown coffee paint mixture, and I was really happy with how it turned out. So after both had dried, I just went ahead and kind of centered it where I wanted it to be. And then I'm taking those little half round beads, and I'm just going to use that sock that I used to apply the color to the family sign. And I'm just going to lay them out and then paint on the faux stain onto the beads. So let me know if you're new here or returning, what kind of videos you would like to see. I know I ask a lot in my videos just because I want to come up with new content that you guys are interested in seeing. So after those little balls had dried, now don't stain the back of them because it's easier for them to adhere if they don't have, if they're not wet or stained. So I just took some wood glue and some hot glue, that way the hot glue would hold it in place while the wood glue dried. And I just went around and did all 4 of them. I thought it would be cute if you went all the way across and up each sides with the beads, but I didn't have enough, so I just went ahead and did this. And these wood beads are from craftparts.com. I will link them in my description box if you would like to check them out. So for the family sign, I just attached it the same way with a little bit of wood glue and hot glue. Project number 12. We are going to make a centerpiece. This is going to be a fall centerpiece, but you can use it any time of the year. But I'm using just some scrap wood that we had used for actually this table under here. But it's just pieces that we weren't going to use for anything, so I thought it would be perfect for the centerpiece. So for this centerpiece, I wanted it to be kind of like long for our dining room table. And then that way I could put like candles and greenery or florals or whatever, pumpkins in it, and change it out for the season. So I'm excited to use this because this I actually got from a garage sale. And it ended up working awesome, and I just cut off the edges so that they were nice and flat and straight and all the same size. And then I just took some sandpaper and smoothed out the edges and any of the roughness on top of the boards. And then I'm using this wood glue. This is one of my favorites. It works really well and pretty quick. And I just applied it to the edges on the 2 centerpieces. And I didn't do as much as I wanted, so that's why I did 2 layers here. And I just smoothed that in and then just did a good gob on there. And then squished them together. And then these are going to be the side pieces. And this is a super simple DIY that anybody could do, and it's going to be awesome for every season or party or whatever as a centerpiece. And it's super simple, and you can paint yours, you can stain it, you can make your edges rounder, whatever you want. You can put end caps on either side, which I didn't do, but because I wanted mine open. Then I just clamped it, and then after, I think that dries within 2 hours, but I let mine dry overnight. And this is what it looks like all finished. It would be super cute on a table or on a counter, like pass through, or like this. I put it under our mirror in our dining room. I just think it's so pretty and so useful for so many different things. You could put it under your TV and decorate it if you have like a entertainment stand. You could put it on a fireplace. Let me know what you guys think of that one. And scrap wood project number 13. This one goes way back as well. This one is a look for less type challenge, and it was this plant holder that I found on Anthropology, and we were able to recreate it for less, and it was really simple too. I'll put our measurements here below. So my husband and I just cut the pieces to size. It didn't match the size that they had online, but I did put our measurements that we used for this. And then after we had cut the scrap pieces of wood, we went ahead and measured out, where we wanted the pots, because we had to put holes into the wood so that we could drop our pots in. And we were just playing around with the measurements here. And this kind of all depends on, the size that you're going with and the size of the pots that you're using. So then here my husband was drilling holes so that he could put the saw blade in and cut the circles into the wood. At the time, this saw was not my favorite. I was not good at using it at all. Since then, I've practiced and gotten a little bit better. You'll see that in part 2 of my scrapwood video. I used it quite a bit actually this year, and I'm getting a little bit better. So I just went ahead and glued the legs together and clamped them, and now I am gluing them and attaching them to the base of the plant holder. And then we let them dry overnight. And then in the morning I just went ahead and sanded down the edges and also sanded the circles that my husband had cut in there, because the blade did get a little bit wonky when he was cutting, but that's fine because that's easy to sand out. And plus, when you put the pots in the holes, you're not going to really see if there was any little bit of wobbly or shakiness with the saw blade. This sanding did take a little bit because it was done really, really rough and rustic looking. I did, I think it was like a year later, I did end up painting this instead of leaving it the raw wood, but I had it like this for a really long time. I had it on our entertainment stand. And then just to make it look more like the inspiration piece, I just went ahead and used similar colors that were in that picture to paint the pots. And these pots I got from Walmart, I believe. It was a couple years ago, so I can't really remember. And then this is it all finished. I was really happy with it. My daughter loved it. She was actually the one who picked it out, the inspiration piece for me. And this is what it looks like. Let me know what you guys think. And also let me know in the comments down below what kind of videos you would like to see on my channel coming up. I do love doing scrapwood projects, but if there's any other ideas that you guys have that you want to see, I love hearing them, and always just pop in and say hi. I love to chat with you guys. On to project number 14. I am using this really cool basket that I got from the thrift store, and I'm hoping it's one that a lot of you guys have or something similar in shape, but I thought I would reuse it in kind of a different way just to give you guys some new ideas maybe. So I am taking this scrap piece of wood, and I thought it would be cool to make it into a shelf. So my husband is helping me with this, and he is just cutting it to size.
Okay, I'm gonna take a little bit off.
Okay.
Right here.
Okay.
So I'm gonna start just taking a little bit of these corners off so that it starts to slide in and misses these. So I'm gonna just start trimming corners back as I slide it in.
Okay.
So I'm going to take a little bit more out of here. I think we're kind of close. What do you think?
Yeah, because then I'll still sand a little bit just to round them.
Take this down a little bit here. I'll take some more out of there.
Okay. I think it looks good.
You know, I can take a little bit more out of there if you want, or
Seems like it's in there pretty solid too.
yeah.
No, I think that's good. I'll sand it and shape it a little bit more. And you could use a handsaw, very easy for this project, but I just wanted to get this started and finished. So then after he was all done cutting it and just kind of getting a rough shape for me, I just took some sandpaper and smoothed out the like the frayed edges, and also rounded them a little bit because I didn't want it to have like super sharp corners. And this kind of wood had kind of like a rough edge to it, you know, that's going to show, which you might want to paint your shelf just so that doesn't show, but you'll see here in a second when I show you the end piece. But mine fits in there pretty snug, and you can use some wood glue and some screws. And you could just go in through those little gaps and screw them into the sides, and probably one on the back along with wood glue, and I think it would hold perfectly. The next thing you want to make sure, probably before you screw it in, is to make sure it's level. But if you're hanging it on the wall like I am, also make sure it's level, you know, once it's hanging. But this is it all finished. I have it in our bathroom, and I just think it's super cute and a really fun way to reuse a basket. Project number 15. So now I am doing a super duper budget friendly towel rack using just some scrap wood that I had. And I ended up using 3 pieces of wood, and I cut them at 15 inches long using my little handy dandy saw here that I got at a garage sale for $5. This one was actually done on my home channel. I'll link that in the description box as well. And then after I got it all cut, I am taking some wood glue and attaching them together, making sure that once I squish them together with the clamp, that the glue isn't like spitting out, because I want to add some wax sealer stuff on this wood. I didn't want to paint it or anything because I love the color of the wood already. But I wanted to wipe up the glue because I didn't want it to obviously show or stain the wood funny. So then I just let that sit for a few hours. And I didn't need any kind of brackets or nails to hold it together, just some wood glue. This stuff works awesome. So I definitely recommend it if you're doing small projects like this or big projects. Then I wanted to sand down the edges just to smooth them out a little bit, so you know I wasn't gonna snag any towels on it or get splinters or whatever. So I just sanded it and then wiped it off, and then you'll see how the wax that I put on makes the color really stand out and make it look new and fresh again. And this stuff smells so good. It smells like oranges. I'm kind of leaning more towards like natural wood colors and stuff again, as opposed to painting everything. How about you guys? What kind of style are you into or liking now? Are you still loving the farmhouse style? What kind of decor style do you like? Isn't that so pretty? I just love the colors. And then I'm just taking this cheap towel hanger. I got it at our local hardware store for $4.99. I'll show you the tag here when I'm done. But here I was just placing it where I wanted it and realized I probably should put the screws at the top. But my husband's helping me so I could hold it in place. I think next my DIY or home makeover is going to be our laundry room. I got some stencils I want to put up in there. Eventually I want to do the floor. I haven't figured out what kind of flooring we're going to do in there, but I have some just small ideas. If you guys want to see that, let me know what kind of makeovers and stuff you want to see on this channel, or if you do at all. So here I'm just placing the screws in halfway so that when I put it up on the wall it's a little bit easier, you know, to attach. But here is the tag for the towel hanger. And I think it's just so cute, and I think it goes well with the wood mirror that we just put up and the color that we have on the walls and the cabinet. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you want to see on this channel in the future. Project number 16. Okay, so we're starting this with this scrap wood. I can't even remember what it was for originally, but we're going to use that as our backer. We're going to use these they're tiles that we use for our backsplash in our kitchen, but they were left over. So, and these are super cheap. I think they're 20 some cents at Lowe's or Home Depot. Super cheap, but you know, you can make some really cool things out of those. So we're going to use that. I'm going to use a snowflake, but whatever you want to use for your centerpiece kind of thing for this like picture frame. I think this was from the dollar store, not sure. And then some more scrap wood. I have so much of this stuff. You've seen me use it in a bunch of other DIYs. So I thought it would be fun just to use up some of the stuff that I have for some more winter decor. And this is kind of warped, so I'm hoping that doesn't mess with these tiles and trying to lay them. So I was playing around with different layouts last night, my husband and I were, and I think I'm just going to go super simple. And then I'm going to use some of this. This is the Loctite. It's a construction adhesive, but it's supposed to be good for like so many different things. And then for the sides, I want to leave room for my boards. I have to cut them down. I have to cut this down too. But so these are going to kind of frame it in, something like that. So I'm going to go cut my boards and I'll be right back. more scrap wood for later. Alright, I have these cut, so I'm going to make sure that they fit how I want them to before I cut the bottom board down. Alright, they seem pretty good. Make sure your edges are lined up and flush. Draw your lines so you know where you're cutting. So I just took this out in my garage and set up the saws so that I could cut to the measurements that I had taken or drawn on the boards, just to cut it down to size. And I'm getting a little bit more used to and a little bit more comfortable with using saws. But like boards like this, you can go ahead and use a hand saw. It would be super simple, just you have to put in a little bit more work. But really, if you learn how to use these safely, it is so fun to do projects because you can get them done like really quick. All right, now we have our board cut, our boards, and then now we're going to attach the frame pieces. We'll probably also want some wood glue and some clamps. I'm using wood glue for the frame and then that construction adhesive for the tiles. And then I'm going to sand it down once I get it all together and dried. Alright, and I put some of my tiles in there, just laying in there to make sure I have my spacing right. And let me know if you're new or if you're a returning subscriber friend. Do you like these kinds of projects, these simple like scrap wood projects, or what else would you guys like to see? I'm really enjoying using like my scrap wood pieces, but I would love to hear your guys' ideas as well. I still have a bunch more of these tiles that I'm going to try and come up with some sort of project to use them for, because I think they're really pretty. All right, I'm going to let those dry and then I'll come back and attach the tiles. That way I know which way the board is going to, if it's going to flex at all. Hopefully it doesn't, but we'll see. All right, while our boards are drying, we're going to work on the snowflake, and I'm going to just fill this with a little bit of wood glue. You could use wood putty if you have it, or whatever, just something so that it doesn't look like there was a hole there. And I'm going to fill it from the back so that it doesn't mess with when I put the wood or the antique wax on it. Alright, so I'm taking a little bit of this. Obviously use what's best for, what goes with your house. I like this because it's it leaves it a little bit rustic still. It would be really pretty if you painted it white too, but I kind of wanted it to stand out a little bit. Then I'm just going to lighten it up just a little bit with some sandpaper. Alright, so now we're going to attach our tiles. I've never used this kind of stuff on tile and wood, so I'm not really sure how much to use, so we'll just hope this works. And then just press them down, make sure they're nice and flat. And you could probably set a book on there or something a little bit heavy that won't scratch your tiles. And go ahead and attach any kind of hanger that you might have to the back of your frame. Just make sure it's going to hold really well because it's heavy with these tiles. Then I went ahead and added a little piece of wood, like a wood round, to my tiles so that I could attach the snowflake to. This was my husband's idea, just to raise it up a little bit. And also this makes it so, because you're attaching it with hot glue that you can remove the snowflake and change out the little centerpiece as the seasons change or holidays or whatever. But I think it turned out really pretty. Let me know what you guys think. Scrapwood project number 17. I'll link my inspiration in the description box. So first I am starting with this scrap post that we had in the garage, and I am finding the center and marking it because this is where we're going to cut to make the peaks of our houses. And then on the ends you want to mark where you may want a chimney, because we're going to add little chimneys here in a second. My husband helped me with this because it's kind of hard to drill into the end grain of wood, and the little attachments we had did not work really well. So he ran to Home Depot for me and got these, and they worked so much better. I left it in there because I thought it looked really cool as it was drilling, but he had to push pretty hard. So these holes are where the little chimneys are going to be. You want to go ahead and drill those before you put the slant on for the roof, because it's a lot easier to drill those holes on a flat surface. So then after he was done, I went ahead and cut the angles for the roof. And I believe in the inspiration post that I saw, he said to do these at 45-degree angles. So I did that on both ends of the post because I'm going to cut the post and make actually 3 houses, but you know, when I cut it, it's going to make 2. And I did them different sizes because I thought that would be cute. And then I'm going to use this extra piece to make another one. And here they are. I think they're so cute already, but I'm going to paint 2 of them black. I like how they had done it on the inspiration picture. I just thought it looked really, really nice with the flat black. So that's why I'm using the chalkboard paint. And I just gave it a good sanding and then gave it 1 coat on each house of the chalkboard paint because it coats actually really well. And then put the little copper chimneys in. I'm not sure what happened to the footage of my husband sanding these copper tubing because these were just scraps that we had. You can go to your local hardware store and they can actually cut pieces of copper for you. And here's what they look like all finished. I'm really liking them. I love how they're a little bit rustic, but a little bit industrial too. And finally, project number 18. So first we're going to start with this piece that I found at Goodwill. I believe it's a shelf. It's made of 2 shutters and then whatever those side pieces are. But I've been looking for shutters for a really, really long time because I've been wanting to make these shutter shelves that I've seen. So for the shelf, I'm just taking off those side pieces. So I'm taking this scrap piece of wood that my dad had given me from a project they had done at their house, and I'm going to chalk paint it with this chalk paintbrush. I love this brand. They work really well with the chalk paints. And this one that has kind of like a pointed tip is working awesome for this project because it can get into those little grooves. Then I'm just going to measure the width of the shutter so that I can cut the shelves to size. And this is going to be such a simple DIY. And I'm going to paint that shelf the same color as the shutter. And then these side pieces that help to hold the shelf onto the shutters, I'm also going to be painting those white. My husband made the cuts for me, so that was super helpful. And we just cut angles on these side pieces that help to hold the shelf onto the shutter. Now I don't need to give you measurements because not all shutters are going to be the same size. So originally I screwed the shelf in and then decided to use nails. So here I'm just securing those little pieces onto the shutter and the shelf with some wood glue and nails. And I used the same on the shelf, attaching it to the shutter. And I didn't paint the back. I didn't think it was worth it because nobody would see it. And then I just went ahead and nailed the back of the other one. And this is what they look like all finished. I didn't have the hangers on them at this point, but I do display them in a lot of my other videos. You will see them in part 2 of my scrap wood projects. That will be hopefully coming out on Tuesday or Wednesday of this week. It's another, I think, like 18 to 20 project ideas, so be sure to check that out. I just love these ones. And thank you guys so much for watching and all your love and support. If you're still watching, put either a coffee cup emoji or a sunshine emoji in the comment section so I know that you stuck with me till the end. I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend so far, or week whenever you're watching this. Be sure to check out part number 2, hopefully in the next few days, of more scrap wood projects. Take care, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye!